While the show served up laughter and heartwarming moments to millions, it concealed some unsettling secrets that never made it into the spotlight. From jaw-dropping cast conflicts to backstage drama that left fans absolutely speechless, here are the 15 darkest secrets from Family Matters that even die-hard fans couldn't have predicted. Number 1. The Urkel Takeover. It all began with a character who wasn't even supposed to stick around. Steve Urkel, portrayed by Jaleel White, was initially intended to be nothing more than a one-off character. A nerdy neighbor who would cause a bit of comedic chaos and then vanish. But destiny had other ideas. The moment Urkel made his debut with that unmistakable high-pitched voice and clumsy antics, something magical happened. The audience was instantly smitten. Now you might be thinking, great, everyone loves a breakout star. But here's where things took a turn. The bigwigs at ABC saw nothing but dollar signs in Urkel's thick-rimmed glasses and suspenders. Almost overnight, they made a game-changing decision. The entire show would revolve around this quirky, accident-prone genius. Imagine how the rest of the cast must have felt. One day you're the star of a cozy family sitcom, and the next you're playing second fiddle to the new kid in town. Jo Marie Payton, who played Harriet Winslow, revealed the moment when everything changed. Producers summoned her, Thelma Hopkins, and Reginald VelJohnson for a meeting and dropped a bombshell. ABC wanted every future episode to center around Urkel. For the original cast, it was a gut punch. They had poured their souls into creating a show about family dynamics, only to find themselves suddenly sidelined. Now let's not sugarcoat it. This decision wasn't exactly tragic for their bank accounts. As Peyton pointed out, the cast still enjoyed the perks of those sweet residual checks. Urkel's skyrocketing popularity kept the show alive for years, which meant more episodes and more money for everyone involved. But let's be honest, money doesn't solve everything, especially when it feels like your hard work is being overshadowed. And what about Jaleel White? The man behind the suspenders wasn't blind to the friction his meteoric rise caused. He acknowledged that things were tense at first. Can you really blame him? One moment, he's a guest star, and the next, he's the face of the entire series, plastered on lunchboxes and cereal boxes across the nation. That's a lot for anyone, let alone a young actor suddenly thrust into the blinding spotlight. But here's the thing about the entertainment industry. It's as unpredictable as one of Urkel's zany inventions. Over time, what started as resentment from the cast gradually softened into a grudging acceptance, and eventually something that resembled camaraderie. After 9 seasons and a staggering 215 episodes, relationships evolved. Like it or not, the cast became a kind of makeshift family, a quirky, dysfunctional one, where one member happened to wear suspenders and constantly exclaimed, "Did I do that?" But a family nonetheless. The Urkel takeover is a perfect reminder of how showbiz can turn on a dime. One moment, you're cruising along, thinking you've got everything figured out, and the next, your world is flipped upside down by a kid in high-water pants. Number 2, the vanishing act. Remember Judy Winslow, the bubbly youngest child of the Winslow clan? Get ready for a plot twist that'll leave you scratching your head and questioning everything you thought you knew about Family Matters. For 4 seasons, Jamie Foxworth brought Judy to life, rounding out the Winslow siblings alongside Eddie and Laura. She was the quick-witted little sister who always added charm and humor to the mix. Fans watched her grow on screen, becoming an integral part of the family dynamic. But then, without warning or explanation, Judy was gone. Poof, vanished, as though she had never been there to begin with. No mention of boarding school, no storyline about moving in with a relative. Nothing. It was as if the creators of the show had pressed delete on Judy's character, erasing her not only from the show, but from the Winslows' collective memory. Imagine how jarring that must have been for fans. One moment they were watching a family of 5, and the next it was as though the youngest child had never existed. And here's where it gets even more shocking. According to Jamie Foxworth herself, this wasn't some grand creative decision or the result of on-set drama. No, the truth was far more ruthless. The producers simply decided they didn't need Judy anymore. They thought they could write her out without anyone noticing or caring. Let that sink in. An entire character erased on a whim. Foxworth later shared in interviews that some of her co-stars knew about the decision before she did. Imagine the tension on set, walking around, knowing this secret, while one of your castmates had no idea they were about to be axed. Talk about awkward. Did anyone try to stop this? Believe it or not, there was at least one glimmer of hope in this otherwise grim tale. Jo Marie Payton, who played Harriet Winslow, reportedly fought to keep Judy on the show. She saw the unfairness of the decision and tried to convince the producers to reconsider. Unfortunately, her efforts fell on deaf ears. The choice had been made, and Judy Winslow was fated to become one of TV's greatest unsolved mysteries. For Jamie Foxworth, the impact of this sudden dismissal was immense. Imagine being a young actress, thinking you've landed a steady role on a hit show, only to have the rug yanked out from under you. It's the kind of experience that could shake anyone's confidence, especially a child trying to navigate the cutthroat world of Hollywood. But Jaime's story didn't end there. Far from it. After being abruptly written out of Family Matters, she attempted to pivot her career. She joined a music group with her sisters, hoping to carve out a new path in the entertainment industry. However, when that didn't pan out, she found herself at a crossroads. At just 19 years old, needing money and rebelling against her strict upbringing, Jaime made a life-altering decision. She entered the adult film industry under the name Crave. Foxworth later reflected on this chapter of her life with regret, admitting that she was never truly comfortable seeing herself in that light. Number 3, the fallout from fame. Just when you thought Jamie Foxworth's journey couldn't get more dramatic, brace yourself. This part of her story is an emotional roller coaster. Ever heard the saying, when it rains, it pours? Well, for Foxworth, life after Family Matters felt like a Category 5 hurricane. After her departure from the show and a brief stint in adult entertainment, she found herself grappling with some heavy challenges, ones that could test even the strongest resolve. Foxworth began battling deep personal struggles, including a dependency on alcohol and marijuana. These weren't just casual habits, they became her escape route, a way to numb the pain of depression and isolation. She admitted to spending long days alone in her bedroom, disconnected from the world, getting high to drown out her thoughts. Imagine transitioning from being a beloved TV star, part of a hit series watched by millions, to feeling so isolated that even stepping outside seemed impossible. One moment, you're on top of the world. The next, you're trying to piece your life back together, hidden from public view. But here's the turning point that makes her story inspiring. In 2008, Foxworth decided to confront her struggles head-on by joining VH1's Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew. It's one thing to acknowledge your issues privately, but opening up in front of cameras for the world to see takes incredible courage. Foxworth took control of her story, refusing to let her past dictate her future. Of course, recovery is never a straightforward journey. After her appearance on Celebrity Rehab, she continued using marijuana for a few months. However, everything changed when she discovered she was pregnant. The thought of becoming a mother gave her the strength to finally quit for good. For Foxworth, the prospect of raising a child became the light at the end of the tunnel, the motivation she needed to rebuild her life. Number 4, the pay gap scandal. Think you've heard all the behind-the-scenes drama from Family Matters? Think again. This next revelation will have your jaw on the floor. Let's talk about money, or more accurately, the lack of it for some cast members. While Family Matters was raking in viewers and cash, the paychecks weren't exactly evenly distributed. The disparity between what some actors earned compared to others was so glaring, it's hard to believe it didn't cause more fireworks on set. Here's the scoop. Supporting cast members like Jamie Foxworth and Thelma Hopkins reportedly earned a fraction of what the leads were making. And when we say fraction, we're not talking small change. We're talking about the difference between a kid's allowance and a CEO's salary. Sure, it's common for main stars to make more than supporting roles, but the gap here was staggering. The situation became even more frustrating when you consider the massive success of Steve Urkel. As the show morphed into The Urkel Show, merchandise featuring Jaleel White's character was flying off the shelves. Lunchboxes, t-shirts, even cereal. Yet while the money poured in, not everyone shared the benefits. The pay disparity wasn't just an annoyance. It had real-world consequences for those earning less. Take Jamie Foxworth, for example. When her time on Family Matters ended, she faced a financial freefall. Used to a certain lifestyle and suddenly without a stable income, she made decisions that would alter her life forever. Desperate times often lead to desperate measures. So why didn't more cast members speak out at the time? The answer lies in Hollywood's unspoken rules. Complaining about your paycheck can be career suicide. No one wants to be labeled difficult or ungrateful. So these actors smiled for the cameras, delivered their lines, and kept their frustrations bottled up. It wasn't until years after the show ended that some began to shed light on the financial inequality. When the truth finally came out, it cast a new shadow over the seemingly perfect family dynamics viewers had come to love. Suddenly, those heartwarming moments on screen carried a bittersweet undertone, knowing that behind the scenes, some cast members were struggling just to get by. Number 5. Reginald VelJohnson's typecast dilemma. You know the saying, success is a double-edged sword? Well, for Reginald VelJohnson, his breakthrough role on Family Matters turned out to be both a blessing and a challenge in ways that might surprise you. Here's the thing about Hollywood. It's great at pigeonholing actors, boxing them into roles so tightly, it feels like escaping from one of Steve Urkel's wacky contraptions. VelJohnson's case is a prime example. Playing a cop? Sounds like a dream job, right? At first, it definitely was. VelJohnson had already built a reputation portraying law enforcement in iconic films like Die Hard and Ghostbusters. When he landed the part of Carl Winslow, the lovable yet stern patriarch on Family Matters, it seemed like the perfect match. But as the show's popularity skyrocketed, VelJohnson found himself facing a unique predicament. He wasn't just playing a cop, he was becoming the cop. Casting directors began to see him as the quintessential officer, and suddenly his career options narrowed. Need a police officer for your movie or show? Call VelJohnson. While steady work might sound like a blessing, imagine being an actor with a diverse skill set and a range of characters you're dying to explore, only to be constantly handed a badge and uniform. It's like being trapped in a role you can't shake, no matter how hard you try. But it wasn't just his career that was affected. VelJohnson's typecasting seeped into his personal life too. Fans on the street often approached him as though he were an actual officer, asking him for advice or expecting him to solve real-life problems. Can you imagine the irony? An actor just trying to live his life unintentionally turned into an honorary cop in the eyes of the public. VelJohnson himself has reflected on this odd twist of fate in interviews, admitting he never planned to become Hollywood's go-to lawman. It just happened. A domino effect of one role leading to another, cementing his image as the ultimate authority figure. But here's where his story takes an intriguing turn. Instead of letting the typecasting weigh him down, VelJohnson decided to lean into it. He embraced the cop guy persona, using it to his advantage. Whether it was guest starring on TV shows, lending his voice to animated characters, or appearing in video games, VelJohnson found creative ways to make the most of his recognizable image. In a world where being typecast can often spell the end of versatility, VelJohnson flipped the script. He turned what could have been a career limitation into a unique calling card, proving that even when Hollywood tries to box you in, you can still find ways to break out, or in his case, to own the badge. Number 6, the spin-off revelation. Did you know that Family Matters, the iconic sitcom we all know and love, wasn't an original concept? That's right. The show that gave us Steve Urkel and the unforgettable Winslow family actually began as a spin-off. Surprising, right? This beloved family sitcom has its roots in another 80s favorite, Perfect Strangers. If this little nugget of TV trivia has you scratching your head, you're not alone. Even die-hard fans often miss this connection. Here's how it all went down. Jo Marie Payton, who famously portrayed Harriet Winslow, actually debuted her character on Perfect Strangers. But wait, it gets even more intriguing. On Perfect Strangers, Harriet wasn't the loving matriarch we came to adore on Family Matters. She was an elevator operator in the building where the show's main characters worked. It's a far cry from the central role she would later play, but her portrayal caught the attention of network executives who saw untapped potential. In a stroke of TV magic, they decided to give Harriet her own show. fleshing out her backstory and introducing us to her family. And just like that, the Winslow clan was born. This origin explains why Family Matters initially leaned heavily on the adult characters, particularly Harriet and her husband Carl, rather than focusing on the younger generation. It wasn't until Steve Urkel stumbled into the picture, complete with his high-pitched voice and suspenders, that the dynamic began to shift. Now here's where things get even juicier. The transition from Perfect Strangers to Family Matters wasn't exactly seamless. When Family Matters first aired, many viewers didn't even realize it was connected to Perfect Strangers. The network had to run special promos to introduce the new show and its characters, trying to bridge the gap for fans. But as Family Matters gained traction, especially with the meteoric rise of Urkel, the show began evolving in ways no one could have predicted. What started as a heartfelt family-centric sitcom slowly morphed into The Steve Urkel Show in everything but name. This pivot wasn't just noticeable on screen, it also created some tension behind the scenes. Jo Marie Payton, who had been the original star and the very reason the show existed, found herself increasingly sidelined as Jaleel White's Urkel took center stage. The spin-off backstory also sheds light on why the earlier seasons of Family Matters feel so different from the later ones. As the show moved further away from its Perfect Strangers roots and fully embraced the Urkel phenomenon, it transformed into something its creators likely never anticipated. Imagine pitching a show about an elevator operator's family, only for it to become one of the most memorable sitcoms of the 90s, all thanks to a quirky neighbor in suspenders. Talk about an unexpected journey. Number 7, the physical price of comedy. Being a sitcom star might seem like all fun and big paychecks, but for Jaleel White, portraying Steve Urkel on Family Matters came with surprising challenges. You're probably thinking, how tough could it be? It's just a sitcom. But those slapstick moments that had us laughing out loud were no easy feat to perform. Urkel's trademark physical humor, crashing into furniture, tripping over props, and chaotic antics was central to his charm. Yet it came at a steep cost. White frequently threw himself into these high-energy stunts, pushing his body to the limit. One particular mishap during filming, though the details remain undisclosed, was significant enough to cause concern among the cast and crew. As the series progressed, so did the demands on White. Starting as a young boy, his comedic routines were once innocent and manageable. However, as he grew older, the physical expectations only intensified, making those once harmless antics increasingly risky. Behind the scenes, it became clear, bringing Urkel's chaos to life was no small feat. It was a physically grueling challenge. Number 8, the vanishing mom conundrum. Wait, wasn't Harriet Winslow in Family Matters until the very end? Well, technically yes, and no. This is where things take an unexpected turn. Jo Marie Payton, who had portrayed Harriet since the show's early Perfect Strangers days, made an unexpected exit halfway through the 9th and final season. But instead of gracefully writing her character out or wrapping up the series altogether, the producers made a bold and baffling move. They recast Harriet. Picture this. One week, you're watching the familiar Harriet, the heart and soul of the Winslow family. The next week, without warning, a completely different actress steps into the role. No explanation, no acknowledgement, just a new face in a role everyone knew and loved. Judy Ann Elder took over as Harriet for the last stretch of episodes, and the change was as jarring as it was unexpected. Imagine waking up to find your mom replaced by someone else, and everyone around you acting like nothing happened. That's the vibe fans were left with. So why the sudden switch? Turns out, Jo Marie Payton had long been eager to explore new creative avenues. She reportedly tried to negotiate with ABC for opportunities beyond Family Matters, much like how Bob Saget juggled hosting America's Funniest Home Videos alongside Full House. When those efforts didn't pan out, Payton decided to leave the show. The producers, by then deeply invested in the Urkel-centric direction the series had taken, opted to keep the show going. Instead of writing Harriet out, they made the bold choice to recast her, hoping viewers wouldn't notice or mind. The change hit the cast hard. Reginald VelJohnson, who played Carl Winslow, compared it to getting a divorce and marrying someone else. Darius McCrary, who played Eddie, described it as if his TV mom had suddenly disappeared. What's even more surprising? Many casual viewers didn't even pick up on the switch. In a time before social media dissected every casting change and behind-the-scenes drama, a significant shakeup like this could actually go unnoticed. But for longtime fans in the original cast, Harriet's replacement marked a bittersweet and symbolic shift in a series that had already evolved far beyond its roots. Number 9. The Near Mrs. Rudy. Imagine this alternate reality. Jaleel White, the actor forever linked to the quirky, suspender-clad Steve Urkel, almost stepped into an entirely different iconic TV role. That's right. White was nearly cast as Rudy on The Cosby Show. After breezing through several auditions, White was so confident he'd landed the role that he began planning a move to New York. But at the final callback, he noticed something that stopped him in his tracks. A young girl also auditioning for Rudy. That girl was Keisha Knight Pulliam, who ultimately secured the part. Why the sudden switch? Bill Cosby decided at the 11th hour that Rudy should be a girl to better mirror his real-life family dynamics. Think about the ripple effect this decision caused. Without that casting change, would Family Matters or the unforgettable Steve Urkel even exist? It's a jaw-dropping reminder of how one casting decision can reshape the television landscape and alter careers forever. Number 10. Dancing with Drama. You'd expect Jaleel White, the man who brought joy to millions as the lovable Urkel, to carry that same energy everywhere he went. But his time on Dancing with the Stars in 2012 revealed a more fiery side. Reports emerged of a heated altercation during rehearsals with his dance partner, Kim Johnson. The incident reportedly began innocuously enough. White accidentally stepped on Johnson's foot, and when she expressed discomfort, things spiraled. Witnesses claimed White lost his temper, accusing Johnson of overreacting and acting like a baby. But it didn't stop there. White allegedly vented his frustrations to the show's producers, calling his partner stupid, and even clashing with another dancer who tried to de-escalate the situation. Fans who adored Urkel's goofy charm were taken aback by this stark contrast to the persona they knew and loved. Number 11. Legal troubles after the show. When Family Matters ended, some cast members found themselves entangled in real-life dramas that rivaled any TV script. Take Darius McCrary, known as Eddie Winslow. In 2015, his then-wife Tammy Bronner filed a restraining order against him, alleging abusive behavior toward her and their daughter. The accusations were shocking, painting a far cry from the wholesome son Eddie once portrayed on screen. McCrary didn't stay silent, countering with his own claims against Bronner. The messy public feud played out in tabloids, tarnishing fans' cherished memories of the Winslow family. Even Jaleel White wasn't immune to controversy. In 2012, he faced allegations of domestic violence from an ex-girlfriend. Though White fervently denied the accusations, the scandal cast a cloud over his otherwise clean public image. It's a sobering reminder that life after stardom can bring its own set of challenges, proving that reality can sometimes overshadow even the most dramatic on-screen stories. Number 12. Thelma Hopkins' frustrations. Thelma Hopkins, who portrayed the lovable Aunt Rachel on Family Matters, quickly became a fan favorite. Her charm and wisdom added depth to the Winslow family, especially with her role as a single mom raising young Richie. But as the series progressed, Aunt Rachel's presence noticeably faded, leaving fans puzzled. What caused this change? According to reports, Hopkins grew increasingly dissatisfied with the direction of her character. Aunt Rachel, once an integral part of the Winslow family dynamic, seemed to drift into the background as Steve Urkel's antics took center stage. Hopkins believed that Aunt Rachel's character held untapped potential. Stories about her journey as a single mother, her career ambitions, or even her romantic life could have added richness to the show. Instead, those opportunities never materialized, and her screen time dwindled. Hopkins eventually made the tough decision to leave the show, seeking roles that would allow her to explore more fulfilling storylines. Her departure left a significant gap in the Winslow family. Aunt Rachel's signature warmth and quick wit were sorely missed, as were her legendary homemade pies and clever comebacks. While Richie, her on-screen son, remained part of the cast, the family dynamic just didn't feel the same without her. Hopkins' choice to move on was understandable, and she went on to enjoy a thriving career in other television projects. Though her time on Family Matters ended, her portrayal of Aunt Rachel remains a cherished part of the show's legacy. Number 13, the sci-fi shift. If you stuck with Family Matters until the end, you probably noticed an unexpected twist in the show's tone. What started as a heartwarming family sitcom eventually transformed into something that felt more like science fiction. In the earlier seasons, the craziest events were slapstick moments caused by Urkel's clumsiness. But as time went on, the storylines took a bizarre turn. From Urkel cloning himself and creating his smooth-talking alter ego, Stefan Urkel, to building a teleportation device, the show dove headfirst into the fantastical. These wild plot lines were a stark departure from the grounded, relatable themes that defined its early years. Jo Marie Payton, who played Harriet Winslow, famously compared the later seasons to jumping the shark, a phrase used to describe when a show adopts outrageous plots to stay relevant. The sci-fi direction, while entertaining to some, signaled a shift in the show's focus, further highlighting how much it had deviated from its original premise of family-centered storytelling. Number 14, the hidden struggles behind the laughter. For the cast of Family Matters, the show's runaway success was both a blessing and a challenge. Millions of viewers tuned in weekly to enjoy the Winslow family's antics and their quirky, unforgettable neighbor, Steve Urkel. Yet behind the scenes, the intense fame and pressure took a heavy toll on the mental well-being of many cast members. Sudden stardom can be overwhelming, and the young actors weren't immune. Jalil White, who brought the iconic Steve Urkel to life, has opened up about feeling trapped by the role that defined his career. While fans adored the nerdy, suspender-clad character, White struggled with being typecast. Attempts to transition to more mature roles were often overshadowed by his association with Urkel, leaving him feeling creatively stifled for years. The challenges weren't limited to White. Several younger cast members found it difficult to transition from child stardom to adulthood. Their association with their Family Matters characters made it hard to land new roles, leading to feelings of frustration and uncertainty about their future in the entertainment industry. For some, the lack of opportunities post-show amplified personal struggles as they battled the pressures of fame and the realities of life after the spotlight dimmed. Despite these hurdles, the cast has shown incredible resilience. Many have shared their journeys of healing and personal growth, finding solace in reconnecting with fans at reunions and exploring new creative endeavors. While the mental health challenges were significant, the enduring love from fans has played a crucial role in their recovery. Today, the Family Matters cast continues to thrive, proving that strength and community can prevail even in the toughest times. Number 15, the bizarre finale that left fans hanging. After 9 seasons of laughs, heartfelt moments, and wild antics, Family Matters delivered a final episode that left fans scratching their heads. Instead of a heartfelt goodbye or satisfying conclusion, viewers were treated to one of the strangest cliffhangers in TV history. Steve Urkel, the show's breakout star, was last seen floating in space. Yes, you read that right. The series' later seasons had already embraced increasingly eccentric storylines, with Urkel evolving from a clumsy, nerdy neighbor to a full-fledged inventor. His wild gadgets became central to the plot, culminating in a space travel device. In the finale, Urkel embarks on a mission to space, only for things to go hilariously and disastrously wrong. The episode ends with Urkel stuck in orbit, leaving fans with endless questions. What about the Winslow family? Would Steve and Laura's relationship survive? And seriously, why was Urkel in space? To add insult to injury, the show was abruptly canceled after this episode, leaving no opportunity for resolution. Loyal fans who had spent nearly a decade with the Winslows felt cheated of the closure they deserved. The finale's lack of payoff sparked confusion and disappointment, with many viewers questioning what the writers had been thinking. Yet as time passed, fans began to embrace the absurdity of the ending. In a strange way, the outlandish finale felt fitting for a series that had leaned heavily into over-the-top plot lines, especially when it came to Urkel's antics. While it wasn't the heartfelt conclusion fans had hoped for, the finale earned a quirky place in TV history as one of the most bizarre send-offs ever. Despite its eccentric ending and behind-the-scenes turmoil, Family Matters remains a beloved classic. Its lasting legacy is a testament to the joy it brought to millions. With memorable characters, heartwarming moments, and of course, Steve Urkel's iconic, "Did I do that?" The show may not have been perfect, but its impact on pop culture is undeniable. And for that, we'll always look back with gratitude.